Hello, Tony, your deck architect here, back on my channel once more with another deck profile. But before we begin, I have a question for you first. You like jazz? Well, you better, because this week's deck profile will have us join the hive mind as we explore Dawn of Majesty's TCG exclusive archetype in the Beetroopers. So to give a quick recap of the Beetroopers are Yu-Gi-Oh's newest TCG exclusive archetype bundled with every core set. However, unlike the abysmal concept that was War Rocks, Beetroopers are actually incredibly playable right out of the gate. Drawing from the insect type's natural affinity for swarming and evolution, the Beetroopers employ an aggressive link climbing strategy capable of going from a single low-level insect into a 3k juggernaut rocking both Dragoon's level protections and flexible utility. Combined with their own in-theme searchable countertrap and several powerful extenders in their arsenal, the Beetroopers are an archetype with the tools necessary to contend with the current meta. But to say that Beetroopers alone makes the honey sweet would also be inaccurate, because while the Beetroopers are indeed powerful, the true power of this deck comes from the overall insect type. See, while it has been almost a decade since insects got their last competitive archetype in Insectors, the insect typing has over the years received a plethora of powerful support cards, sprinkled throughout various sets. From powerful floaters to underappreciated archetypes, the insect typing was always poised to be able to do effective competitive strategies, only lacking a reasonable endgame to consolidate their strategy into. With the Beetroopers finally providing said endgame, the deck is free to take advantage of all these powerful insect support cards printed over the years to create a cohesive deck capable of not only playing through multiple interruptions, but also put up multiple interruptions likewise, while still packing a full suite of hand traps. And those are some of the things I hope to be able to showcase as I get through the deck profile. Anyway, I've droned on enough. Without a further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off our deck profile, we begin with one of the deck's many starters in our 3 Beetrooper Scout Buggy. Scout Buggy is a level 3 insect with a very simple effect. When normal or special summoned, Scout Buggy can special summon another copy of itself from either the hand, deck, or graveyard. Given its effect only interacts with other copies of itself, Beetrooper Scout Buggy really doesn't assist the rest of the Beetrooper deck in any way outside of being a self-isolated swarming option for the deck. But what it lacks in utility, it makes up for in versatility. Unlike other on-summon extenders like Tour Guide to the Underworld or Speedroid Terratop, Scout Buggy holds the distinction of being one of the few among them to trigger off of both normal and special summon, and summon from almost anywhere. These distinctions alone make Scout Buggy a fantastic miniature swarming engine that you can utilize at almost any point in a game. Not only is the card never technically dead, regardless of how many copies you may have drawn into or used, but the fact that it can trigger on special summon from anywhere means that it works fantastically alongside your recruiter and revival options as well. Finally, while Scout Buggy itself does not support the Beetroopers, it still is a Beetrooper in name, and as such takes advantage of the support for the Beetroopers as a whole, including its boss monster who can tutor Beetroopers directly from the deck, making Beetrooper Scout Buggy not only incredibly versatile, but also easy to access as well. Moving past that, the next monster on our list is our 3 Beetrooper Scale Bomber. Scale Bomber, like Scout Buggy, is a level 3 insect type monster. While in the hand, should an insect type monster be normal or special summoned to your side of the field, Scale Bomber can special summon itself from the hand. Furthermore, while on the field, should your opponent activate an on-field monster effect, Scale Bomber can tribute any insect, including itself, to destroy that monster. So there are a few things about Scale Bomber that are worth noting. The first is its special summon effect. Operating functionally the same to a card like Kagemucha Knight, Scale Bomber acts as a very simple extender for the deck, activating in response to the summon of an insect monster to put itself onto the field. This not only puts an additional body onto your field for your X deck plays, but also provides you a neat way to chain block on summon effects as well, providing things like your Scout Buggy protection against hand traps like Ash Blossom. The second is its on-field effect. Complemented by its first effect, committing Scale Bomber onto the field intrinsically puts a live Ghost Ogre effect onto your field independent of the rest of your plays. This gives the deck built-in responsive removal that can be applied in a number of ways. For one, you could utilize it as disruption on your opponent's turn to destroy one of your opponent's monsters as they attempt to extend with it. For another, you can also utilize it as a way of outing established boards by destroying monsters like Appaloosa that need to remain on the field to resolve its negate. Wrapping up the main deck Beetroopers, we have our two Beetrooper Sting Lancer. Sting Lancer, unlike the last two Beetroopers, is a level 7 insect type monster. While in the hand, Beetrooper Sting Lancer can special summon itself on either player's main phase by targeting an insect type monster in your graveyard and a monster in your opponent's graveyard and bottoming both into their respective decks. Then, to complement that effect, when Sting Lancer is normal or special summoned, it can add a Beetrooper spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Coming in at a respectable 2400 attack, Sting Lancer primarily serves two purposes for the Beetrooper stratagem, of which none of them are battle focused. The first is as a graveyard disrupting hand trap on our opponent's turn. Being able to bottom one of your opponent's monsters in the graveyard to the deck is incredibly powerful in the current metagame, as you can shuffle back commonly recurrent options like Ben 10 or Nerval into the deck before they can be used again. But this also comes at the additional benefit of allowing you to bottom one of your own insects as well, recycling back one-ofs or extra deck monsters for use in following turns. The second purpose Sting Lancer serves is as a means to access our Beetrooper spell and trap support. To date, Beetroopers only have a single spell and trap, both of which are incredibly powerful but also bricky at multiples. Sting Lancer being able to search into both of these cards while also being a tutorable body means we can run less copies of the former while maxing out on our ability to access the latter. Furthermore, it's notable to point out that Sting Lancer's search effect is not dependent on it being special summoned by its special summon effect, and can be triggered off of being summoned in any way. This means that, like Scout Buggy, Sting Lancer combos incredibly well with your Recruiter and Revival options to grab your spell and traps to solidify your board. With the Beetroopers out of the way, we move on to our secondary hive of monsters in the Battle Wasps, consisting of 2 Battle Wasps Pin the Bullseye, 2 Battle Wasp Twin Bow the Attacker, 2 Battle Wasp Sting the Poison, and 1 Battle Wasp Arbalest the Rapid Fire. The purpose of this group of monsters is to serve as alternative starters and extenders for the deck. For one, both Pin and Twin Bow come packing with built-in effects to special summon themselves from the hand. Pin can do so while you control another insect monster, while Twin Bow can special summon itself from the hand at any time, but locking you into insects from the X deck for the rest of the turn. Meanwhile, Sting can search into any other Battle Wasp monster on normal or special summon, while also packing quick effect monster negation for the cost of attributing any other insect, while Arbalest acts as recovery for the deck, being able to revive any level 3 or lower insect monster from your graveyard upon normal summon, and floating into another Battle Wasp from your deck when destroyed. Breaking these options down, we start with our 2 Pin and our 2 Twin Bow. As free special summons from the hand, both operate as extenders for the deck, requiring very little to put themselves onto the field, and as such, being incredibly hard for your opponent to predict and play around. These qualities give the deck a level of resilience against disruption in general, allowing you to play past your starters getting negated to still produce a formidable board. Additionally, both options come with nifty effects that allow you to edge in some additional damage, with Twin Bow being able to attack twice and Pin being able to burn by 100 times the number of Pin the Bullseye on the field. Both aren't exactly game-winning effects, but can be useful in time to edge in just enough damage to win those games, so keep them in mind when these situations arise. Moving on to our 2 Sting, Sting acts as a way to grab into our Pin or Twin Bow for a way to put 2 insects onto our field for little to no cost. This makes Sting another fantastic starter for the deck that can generate free field presence while also being protected from hand traps through our Scale Bomber. Like many of our on-summon recruiters, Sting can also trigger off of both normal and special summon, meaning he works great with our Revival and other recruiters. But the most interesting thing about Sting over those other options is that it comes packing with Disruption as well. For the cost of any other insect you control, Sting can target a monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. This quick effect gives Sting utility on your opponent's turn even beyond its search effect, and gives you an incentive to leave him on the field past its summon. Since the effect can be used on either player's turn, it also allows Sting to negate established boards as well, making Sting a great starter to lead with going first or second. Finally, ending on our 1 Arbalest, Arbalest acts as a way to revive our insects from the graveyard. Since this effect does not negate the effects of the revived insect, on-summon effects can resolve. This allows Arbalists to combo incredibly well with our Sting the Poison to grab a pin or twinbo to easily put 3 monsters onto the field. However, it's important to point out that Arbalists can bring back any level 3 or lower insect, meaning that beyond Sting, Arbalists can also revive options like our Beetrooper Scout Buggy to produce the same end result. And while the floating effect of Arbalist will rarely ever go off, it does give Arbalist a nice way to tutor into our other Battle Wasps by way of crashing should we need something like a Sting the Poison in circulation to start our plays. With our 2 hive archetypes now established, we can proceed to some individual insect support, starting with our 3 Resonance Insect and 2 Gokipole. Both of these cards carry a floating effect when sent to the graveyard in some way that allows you to grab additional resources. Resonance Insect, when sent from the field to the graveyard, allows you to add any level 5 or higher insect from your deck. Furthermore, when banished, Resonance Insect can send 1 insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. This effect benefits sending our Gokipole, which when sent to the graveyard in any way, allows you to add any level 4 insect from your deck to your hand. Then, should the added monster be a normal insect type monster, you can special summon that insect monster onto your field and destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, non-targeting, with attack greater than the summoned monster. In terms of the Beetrooper strategy, both Resonance Insect and Gokipole act as graveyard triggers that can grab you into your other insect options. Resonance Insect, being able to grab level 5 or higher insects, can grab you your Sting Lancer directly from your deck, on top of powerful cards like your Doom Dozer that can banish Resonance Insect to trigger its second effect. Likewise, Gokipole can grab you cards like your Arbalest, which can revive your Gokipole for 2 free bodies. Alternatively, Gokipole can also grab your one of Killer Needle to act as an independent extender and removal without additional setup. Given these extendable options, both Resonance Insect and Gokipole make fantastic link materials for the deck, being able to be used alongside literally any of our aforementioned extenders that we discussed to start some powerful 2-card combos. Then, rounding off the insect lineup, we have the single Doom Dozer as well as the 1 Adzectipede, the Worm Warrior. Both monsters operate fundamentally the same in that they can special summon themselves from the hand by banishing a number of insects from the graveyard, with Doom Dozer requiring 2 and Adzectipede requiring 1. Additionally, both Adzectipede and Doom Dozer, upon dealing battle damage, sends the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. Now, there isn't too much to be said about either card. Both act as further extenders for the deck that can banish Resonance Insect in your graveyard to trigger its effect. Due to the fact that their summoning conditions require insects in the grave to work, they can be bricks at times, thus our choice to only play 1 of each. But it is useful to point out that both monsters pack respectable attack values, with Doom Dozer coming in at 2800 attack and Adzectipede coming in at 1900. This, in contrast to our generally weaker other insects, makes both cards great beaters in a simplified game state to end games with. Finally, rounding off the monsters with the hand traps, we have the 3 Ash Blossom as well as the 3 Effect Veiler, as well as 1 Retaliating Sea and 1 Contact Sea. Thanks to the copious amount of random extenders present in the Beetrooper deck, most of which can easily climb to link 3 and above in any combination, it's quite easy for this deck to operate off of simple 2-card combinations to build a formidable board. As such, it's perfectly possible for us to play a full suite of hand traps while being wholly unimpeded in our main strategy. Now, everyone already knows what Ash and Veiler do, but I do want to bring a bit of focus to the 2 Sea hand traps that we play 1 of. Retaliating Sea can special summon itself to your side of the field when a spell is activated that includes an effect to special summon a monster, and when summoned that way, banishes any card sent to the graveyard while face up on the field. Inversely, Contacting Sea can special summon itself to your opponent's side of the field whenever a monster is normal or special summoned, and forces your opponent to use Contacting Sea as a material for an X-deck monster. Both effects are powerful game enders against some of the current competitive decks. Against a deck like Tri-Brigade or Prank Kids, who can either only use animal monsters as link materials or can only make Prank Kids to trigger effects, Contacting Sea effectively ends their turn, preventing them from being able to make their signature link monsters or even perform basic plays. Against a deck like Shadal's or Invoked, who plays spells that special summon monsters, Retaliating Sea cuts them off from their major advantage generation, banishing Shadal's and Invocations that would otherwise float into consistent boards. This is all compounded by the fact that as a level 6 and a level 4 insect, both of these cards are searchable off of your Resonance Insect and Goki pole, making both of these searchable floodgates that can be grabbed as part of your basic combo to suit your needs. Going into the spells, we get into formation with the only Beetrooper spell in our 1 Beetrooper formation. Beetrooper formation is a field spell with 2 effects. The first is that once per turn, Beetrooper formation can target 1 Beetrooper in the graveyard and revive it, having you lose life equal to its attack and preventing it from attacking this turn. The second is that should any insect monster be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 Beetrooper token in its place. Looking at Beetrooper formation, it's pretty clear that the main effect that we will be subscribing to is its revival effect. Being able to revive any Beetrooper from your graveyard at the cost of some life has some incredible applications. Not only can you bring things back like your Scout Buggy and Sting Lancer, both of which will net you more cards, but you can also revive your Beetrooper links as well, with both of your available options also packing some level of extension to make their revival worthwhile. However, while you may be tempted to revive your biggest monsters to stabilize your board, I would personally recommend against that. Thanks to the fact that both your Sting Lancer and your Link 4 have over 2,000 points of attack, reviving either can take a huge chunk of your life out. Life that does start stinging back, especially since you can attack with your revived monster. Thus, the revived monster is solely to be used as a means of extension, and with options like your Scout Buggy available to you at your disposal with only 1,000 attack points, it's definitely much more preferable to go into that than to lose upwards of 3k on a passive Link 4. Furthermore, while commonly ignored, the token generating effect does have some very key applications. Not only does this allow you to essentially replace any destroyed insect for another one, mitigating your losses for the following turn, the token you summon is a Beetrooper token, meaning that it carries the Beetrooper name for other support cards. This is especially relevant to cards that require you to control a Beetrooper monster, allowing you to stick a Beetrooper onto the field a little longer to keep that card live. Then, rounding off the spells, we have the 1 Monster Reborn for additional revival, as well as 3 Pot of Prosperity for additional consistency. Personally, I'm not the greatest fan of Prosperity, especially in this deck where seeing any extender potentially works. But the reason why we play Prosperity over a card like Desires or Extravagance is to see diversity in our extenders. You may have noticed that we are only playing an average of 2 of each extendable insect. The reason for this is because most of those extenders are hard once per turn special summons, meaning that opening multiples of some of them is absolutely bricky. Prosperity gives us the ability to dig 6 deep and pick a specific extender that we want, giving us a much better chance at having a diverse hand and thus a much more live hand. Finally, rounding off the deck with the traps, we have the 1 Beetrooper Fly in Sting as well as the obligatory 3 Infinite Impermanence. Now, most of us already know what Infinite Impermanence does, but many of you will have never seen Beetrooper Fly and Sting before. Fly and Sting is a counter trap that responds to the activation of a monster effect while you control a Beetrooper monster to negate its activation and destroy the card. Additionally, while in the graveyard during the end phase, if you control a Beetrooper with 3,000 or more attack, Beetrooper Fly and Sting can banish 1 insect in your graveyard to reset itself onto the field. So for simplicity in understanding, Beetrooper Fly and Sting effectively acts as the deck's Salaman Great Roar, negating monster effects and then resetting itself from the graveyard onto your field. However, unlike Salaman Great Roar, Beetrooper Fly and Sting does not banish itself from the field after leaving the field post its reset, meaning that once in circulation, Beetrooper Fly and Sting becomes a recurring monster negation that can be used as long as you control a Beetrooper monster. And that simplicity in its activation requirements is also exactly why Beetrooper formation's token generating effect is so key, since keeping a Beetrooper in that token on field allows you to, at worst, maintain a single negation live. The banish to reset can also trigger things like our Resonance Insect, and the card is searchable off of our Sting Lancer, making Beetrooper Fly and Sting a powerful counter trap that we can easily set up as early as our first turn. Going into our extra deck, we kick things off with our primary playmaker in our 3 Beetrooper Armorhorn. Beetrooper Armorhorn is a Link 2 insect monster that requires 2 insect monsters to make. While on the field, Armorhorn restricts you to only being able to special summon insects. Furthermore, once per hard turn, Beetrooper Armorhorn can activate its effect to have you perform a normal summon of an insect type monster. Additionally, while in the graveyard, Armorhorn can banish 3 insects from your graveyard to summon itself back to the field, but it will be banished when it leaves the field once more. With 2 extendable effects, Beetrooper Armorhorn is incredibly key to the Beetrooper strategy. As its first effect facilitates a normal summon by effect, it does not consume your turn given normal summon, essentially providing you 2 normal summons of insects per turn. This in turn allows you to double up on a number of your insect effects, allowing you to do things like summon 2 starters in one turn to get both of their on-summon effects, or immediately normal summon the search target of a Gokipole after having used Gokipole to make Armorhorn. This is further complemented by its in-graveyard effect, which not only allows you to bring back Armorhorn to serve as a sacrificial body for extra deck plays, but also allows you the opportunity to use its normal summon effect in a following turn after having linked Armorhorn away. These things, combined with how absolutely easy it is to produce this card with literally any 2 insects, makes Beetrooper Armorhorn your go-to link 2 to stage the rest of your boards. With the main playmaker now established, we go on to our endgame in our 3 Giant Beetrooper Invincible Atlas. Coming in at 3000 attack, Giant Beetrooper Invincible Atlas is a link 4 monster that requires 2+ insects to make. Like Armorhorn, Great Atlas restricts you to only being able to special summon insects while face up on the field, but while a link summon Great Atlas is on the field, should it have 3000 attack or less, it cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Finally, while on the field, Great Atlas contributes an insect type monster to do one of 2 things. Either A, special summon 1 Beetrooper from your deck, or B, increase its attack by 2000 until the end of the turn. So Giant Atlas is a lot of things. Starting with its built-in protection, being unable to be targeted or destroyed by card effects while it has 3000 attack or less is incredibly powerful, being effectively Dragoon's level protected so long as Great Atlas does not increase its attack further. But even if it were to increase its attack to over 3000 through its own effect, Giant Atlas returns to 3000 base at the end of the turn, essentially allowing you to momentarily pump Atlas to over 5000 to get over big threats before armoring up for the following turn. But let's face it, the real honeypot of this card is the other option of that effect. Being able to swap out any insect for any Beetrooper gives you access to a number of powerful options. You could summon out Scout Buggy to extend your board further, or you could summon out a Scale Bomber for additional disruption. But most preferably, you could summon out a Sting Lancer to net you a search into your counter trap, immediately putting it into circulation where it can reset itself every turn thanks to you controlling the 3k Giant Atlas. And while Giant Atlas does lose its protection if it becomes revived through Beetrooper Formation or Monster Reborn, it does not lose that special summon from deck effect, making him a great option to be revived at any point in the game to tutor out a Beetrooper for your next play. Finally, rounding off the X deck, we start off with our 2 Insector Piccophilena, which we use either to recycle insects back into our deck for reuse and a draw, or to equip other insects with a Resonance Insect or Gokipole from the deck to trigger off their floating effects when we link the equipped monster away. Then we have 2 Papillon Seraphim as our link 3 of choice, of which we use either as a stepping stone for our link 4, or to revive insects for disruption or floating. We have the 1 Shinobi Insect Hacker Chemo that we use to convert 2 monsters into an insect for correct typing in further link plays. We have the 1 Access Code as an alternative game ender, the 1 Salamangreat Almirage as a way to link away a Resonance Insect or Gokipole for their effects, and 2 number 3 Cicada King as our rank 3 of choice to negate effects and revive insects. Now it's at this point that we once again reach the combo component of the deck profile, and for this combo component I have a very simple 2-card combination to show you that ends on the full Beetrooper setup. Now realistically, the deck has multiple different paths to combo, but a majority of those combos peak at this end board. So instead of showing you multiple test hands which all end on the same end board, I'm going to be showing you the most efficient one of them. And if you guys want me to do more, comment down below and I'll follow this up with a combo extender video in the future. Regardless, the deck is shuffled, the field is ready, let us begin. So getting into our 2-card combo, this combo requires that in an opening hand of 5, that we open a Resonance Insect and any insect extender. The way that this combo is going to work is I'm going to start by normal summoning the Resonance Insect before then special summoning out my insect extender. I'm going to link both of these monsters away to make our Beetrooper Armor Horn and trigger the Residence Insect's effect since it was sent from the field to the graveyard to grab a Doomdozer from my deck to my hand. I'm then going to special summon out said Doomdozer by banishing the Residence Insect alongside the Insect Extender, triggering the Residence Insect's effect since it was banished to send a Gokipo from my deck to the graveyard. Since Gokipo was then sent to the graveyard, it could then land me a level 4 Insect in another Residence Insect. We're then going to activate Armor Horn's effect to normal summon said Residence Insect before then linking away the Residence Insect alongside the Doomdozer to make our second Insect link in our 1 Insector Picofalena. Now, 2 effects will trigger. We have the Residence Insect that went to the graveyard and the Picofalena on summon. What we're going to do is going to chainlink 1 Residence Insect, chainlink 2 Picofalena to dodge hand traps, discarding a card from our hand to the graveyard. We'll just put that to the bottom. And then equipping to our Armor Horn a Residence Insect. Then Residence Insect will resolve to and add a Sting Lancer from our deck to the hand. From there, we're going to activate Picofalena's effect, taking 3 insects in our graveyard and putting it back into the deck to draw an additional card. Then we're going to link away the Armor Horn equipped with a Residence Insect alongside the Picofalena to then make our boss monster in our Beetrooper Invincible Atlas. In doing so, we'll trigger Residence Insect's effect once more to grab back the Doomdozer that we shuffle back into the deck with Picofalena's effect. We're once again going to special summon out said Doomdozer by banishing the Residence Insect alongside a Picofalena, once again triggering the Residence Insect's effect once more to then send a Scout Buggy from our deck to the graveyard. Finally, we're going to activate Invincible Atlas's effect, tributing the Doomdozer to then special summon out the second Sting Lancer onto the field, with its effect triggering on special summon to then grab us our Beetrooper Fly-In Sting. We're then going to set said Fly-In Sting and then pass turn to our opponent. Going into our opponent's turn, let's do a quick head count here. On the field, we have a 3000 attack Giant Atlas who cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, as well as a 2400 Sting Lancer to boot. Backing them up is our Beetrooper Flying Sting that can negate what remaining monster effect could threaten our board. On top of that, we also have Graveyard Disruption in our Sting Lancer in hand. And mind you, this was all done while still retaining 3 other cards in hand, cards that could be hand traps to further bolster our board. Furthermore, let's not forget that when we disrupt with our Sting Lancer, it gives us the opportunity to search for a Beetrooper spell and trap on summon, netting us a search into our Beetrooper formation to bring back a Beetrooper like our dumped Scout Buggy off of our Residence Insect for follow-up plays on the next turn. And this is all topped by the fact that if we keep Atlas on the field, we can continuously reset Flying Sting at the end of every one of our turns for a free monster negate. Now, knowing our general end board, the question now becomes, can we do more? And the answer is yes, you can. Going back to that same 2-card combination in our 5-card hand, if the card we can discard for Picofalena is an insect type monster, we can expand our board a little more. Here's how it will go. Like before, we're going to link away the Residence Insect alongside the Doomdozer to make our Picofalena, and we're going to trigger both Picofalena's effect alongside the Residence Insect effect. First, discarding the insect in our hand, to then equip a Residence Insect to our Armor Horn, and then adding Sting Lancer to our hand. Now, the thing is, since we discard an insect for Picofalena's effect, we now have 4 insects in our graveyard instead of 3. This means that when we activate Picofalena's effect to shuffle back 3 insects, we can leave the Residence Insect in the graveyard. Like before, we're once again going to link both monsters equipped with the Residence Insect to make our Giant Atlas, and we're going to trigger Residence Insect's effect again to add our Doomdozer. We're going to special summon that Doomdozer, but instead of banishing the Picofalena and the Residence Insect, we can now banish both Residence Insects instead, triggering both of their effects to not only send a Scout Buggy from our deck to the graveyard, but also a Sting the Poison as well. From there, things proceed as normal. We're going to activate Giant Atlas's effect, tributing the Doomdozer, summon out the Sting Lancer, using Sting Lancer's effect to grab the counter trap, but now since we have more insects in our graveyard, we can banish the Doomdozer, the Insector Picofalena alongside the Scout Buggy to summon back the Armor Horn. We're then going to use the Armor Horn alongside the Sting Lancer to then make our Link 3 Seraphim Papillon, putting 3 or 2 counters on it. We then set our counter trap like before and then pass turn to our opponent. On our opponent's turn, on their draw phase, we can activate Seraphim Papillon's effect to immediately bring back the Sting the Poison, using its on-summon effect to grab an Arbalest the Rapid Fire. And this gives our board a little more than we did before. Not only do we have an Arbalest for follow-up on the following turn, but we also have a Sting the Poison, which can launch one of these insects to negate an additional effect, giving us not only a further follow-up play, but additional disruption to really push our opponent to the limits. And that's going to do it for our Beetrooper deck profile. So, what do I think about the deck? Well, unlike other decks that I've profiled before where I'd argue that the deck has potential in the future, I'd argue that Beetroopers has meta potential already. With so many powerful insect options available and powerful cards like Beetrooper, Fly, and Sting at its disposal, the deck can easily play through multiple hand traps to consistently end on a board of Giant Atlas plus counter trap with 1 to 2 hand traps in its reserve. A strategy very akin to how Salamangreat used to play. And given how effective Salamangreat were and are even in this day and age, I'd argue that Beetroopers definitely has the swarm to contend with today's top meta contenders. With that being said though, the deck isn't perfect. Currently the deck lacks a lot of hard removal outside of Goki Pole, meaning that against monsters that have high attack and natural protection like Giant Atlas, the deck struggles a bit, especially against monsters with over 5,000 attack. Furthermore, the deck doesn't really put up a threat in terms of a monster until it acts as its Link 4, so until you do so, it is somewhat of an uphill battle against established boards. But hopefully the future support in the following sets fixes that. Regardless, this has been Tony, your deck architect, with a Beetrooper deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.